So my name is Bethany Melville, and I am a postdoc here in the SPECTORS program at Rhein-Waal University of Applied Sciences. Originally I'm from Australia, from Tasmania, but I also spent some time living in Canada while I went to university. So originally my background is in geography and environmental sciences, particularly with a focus on ecology and vegetation mapping and vegetation monitoring. My decision to come and work for the SPECTORS project was based on a number of factors. So one of the biggest factors in my decision was the large network and the extensive community that's built around the project, both in the region and in the Netherlands as well. So throughout the project we have a very strong network of partners working in a variety of fields. And from my background coming from a very broad kind of science and looking at different types of sciences and how they interact, that was very attractive to me as I had a desire to get more involved in things like agriculture, coming from an environmental sciences background, and also to work with different kinds of environmental science organisations. So throughout the project I've been working with many agricultural partners to look at things like monitoring soil temperature and soil water content, and also monitoring things like feed load, biomass and nutrient content of grasslands. It was sort of a new field for me, working in more kind of controlled environments than what I'm used to from my previous research. And also I still have the chance to do the things that I learned to come to love through remote sensing. So looking at species identification, looking at biodiversity conservation, species management and all those sorts of things. So the strong point of the SPECTORS project for me is just the network and the coming together of different scientists from fields and the way that we can work as a team to achieve our goals. So within the project and within our team I have a number of different roles. So first of all I manage the scientific work of our group, our core team of 6. So my job is to help design experiments and to provide leadership and to advice to the newer members of the team who are coming out of their undergraduate programs. That's the first part of my job. The second part of my job is to do all of the remote sensing and spatial analysis on all the data sets that we collect. So throughout the past field season we've been working with a number of partners and a number of different study areas to collect data sets that we can use for spatial modelling. Then my job to take these data sets and take them from individual pictures captured by our system and then group them together into a continuous data set that we can actually use. And also looking at modelling other trends such as soil moisture, soil content, and then trying to figure out how we can use the information we get from this modelling to actually provide tangible solutions for farmers. So looking at how we can help make decisions faster and with less resources in terms of field work and actually having to go out and take manual samples of the field. And also trying to figure out how we can provide frequently updatable information to give farmers a bit more information, a bit more regularly about things like when they should be irrigating and when they should be providing fertilisation to their lands. We can also look at when the best time to provide things like cuts for different grasslands and different crop species might be, and to get an overall idea of how healthy a crop might be throughout the growing season. So we can look at potentially how much yield we may be getting from different crops, and we can do all of that just by using drone imagery. So instead of having to actually go down, cut all the grass, cut all the corn or whatever, we can actually build a map that can tell us beforehand exactly how much is there, which can help us in our economic modelling and it can help us manage our land more effectively. So our recent work in Uganda with Dr. Kabiito from the Ugandan Martyrs University is something that I find very exciting and a kind of research that's a bit different from what I'm used to, in that it has a very strong relation to the human component and how remote sensing research and spatial research can actually positively impact people's lives, which is something that I feel can be lost a little bit in these projects. So I'm very excited to be involved in this work. So in July of this year, myself and one of our other team members travelled to Uganda to support the work of Dr. Kabiito and to actually collect data sets that he can use within his broader project. So we spent 3 weeks there. So we spent 2 weeks doing field work and 1 week teaching an intensive course in spatial sciences at the Ugandan Martyrs University. So we spent a week flying a multispectral and a true colour RGB camera system over 18 different farms throughout 2 regions in Uganda. So the reason why we were doing this is we wanted to be able to create maps of different tree species, particularly the species that Dr. Kabiito is interested in his research. So we're looking at these tree species as they relate to food security and looking at where they may be growing, how big they are, how healthy they are, and whether there's any kind of patterns that we can use to predict why they grow where they are and where they should be grown in the future where they might not necessarily be present. So we flew our UAV and we collected many data sets across the farms using these 2 cameras, and we also collected an inventory of the tree species that we're focusing on using our GPS device. So we collected a coordinate for each of our particular trees, and then we used this data and the location to find the same trees in the imagery that we collected, and then we can use that to build an actual model of locations. So whether we can actually, first of all, identify tree species in the data, so whether we can feed the algorithm a subset of the image of a particular tree and have it predict what species it might be, so whether it might be a mango tree or whether it might be a banana tree or an avocado tree, just based on the way that it appears in the imagery. So we're also building models to look at the structure and the height of the tree, which is the advantage that comes from using a UAV system, as we can actually create physical data using a technique called structure from motion. So using this technique, we can build a 3D reconstruction, and we can actually build models for height and how much of the biomass of the tree might be found in particular parts of the tree. So how much of the biomass may be up the top and how much may be at the bottom. So we can use this information to help improve our model and to help us predict our trees a little bit more accurately. And the data can also be used by Dr. Kabiito in his more statistical modelling. So looking at yield and looking at utilization, so how much fruit something may be yielding and how people are actually using that fruit within the community. So whether they're actually eating it or whether they are just letting it fall or whether they're using it for animal feed. So we collected this data, we built our models, and then in the future where we would like to take this is into what we call predictive modelling. So instead of just identifying trees in the data set, what we want to do is we want to be able to say to a farmer, okay, your land is in this particular region and it has these particular attributes. So we're looking at maybe it has a particular slope, it might have a particular water level, it might have a particular temperature, all those sorts of things. Then we want to be able to build a model based on our original modelling that can say, okay, the land that you have here is actually perfect for growing mango trees. So we suggest that you grow mango trees as they'll do very well in this region based on the data that we've collected previously. So reintroduction of fruit trees, particularly indigenous fruit trees, is a very strong priority for Dr. Kabiito, as it helps to lead to better food security and better reduction in things like malnourishment. So we want to use our modelling across a larger region in the long term, and to also monitor things like disease, so to identify where disease may be spreading and what types of diseases may be present and what the risk for disease in certain regions may be based on our remotely sensed data sets that we're collecting.